here on TV, but also in case you have to make a movement, then you can turn to our website www.ntv.co.ug and you can be able to pick up the conversation thereof. You can also pick the links from our other social media platforms on X as well as Facebook. We do have Uganda witnessing a major shift right now. Trade order has become trade order. In the morning, you're seeing those trucks picking up units, picking up people's things. In the evening, in the night, this is past 6 o'clock, you're seeing the very same trucks clearing semi-building or semi-structure after semi-structure in a line. Okay, but what happened? Street vendors and now, other people are being affected in this whole trade order. So we want to have an understanding of its organization, its regulation, and also its enforcement. And what started as Kampala through the market reforms, vendor reforms, hawker restrictions, as well as tighter urban order measures, is now spreading across different parts of the country. Supporters are saying that it's about restoring order, improving revenue collection, and of course preparing Uganda for modern commerce. However, critics are also arguing that it's risking excluding hundreds of thousands who are surviving through this informal trade. Where will they go? At the center of this debate, we do ask ourselves a question: can Uganda modernize a trade without shouting at the people that contribute to that trade, or even shutting them out, depending on where they are for survival and which sector they are in for survival? That's where we are tonight, being joined by Mr. Walugembe, who's the Executive Director, Federation of Small and Medium Enterprises Uganda, and he's here to help us understand, as a respected voice for the enterprise development and business formalization and SMEs competitiveness in Uganda. First of all, we have so far had over a month of this trade order that started as one through cases here in Kampala, but now local government picking it up and extending it to its different concerned constituencies.
Okay, so first of all, on 5th March, the Minister of Kampala, it was after the elections, the Minister of Kampala said that they intend to conduct an operation to make sure that order is brought back into the city. As you may recall, at that time, vendors were operating on the streets and so on, and there was a bit of chaos and disorganization. And at that point, we agreed with that proposition. What we requested of KCCA was their vendors be given more time, and KCCA make preparations for where the vendors would operate. So that operation was carried out, and that was it. However, on the 10th of March, the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Local Government, wrote a letter to all Chief Administrative Officers and Town Clerks, instructing them that they should make sure that they commence trade order operations, cleaning markets, painting buildings, making sure that there are dustbins, making sure that there are street lighting. Unfortunately, what has transpired is not in tandem with the letter. What you see in these operations, which are countrywide by the way, is that enforcement teams with graders go in, they break people's houses, confiscate property, take kiosks, you see. Now, we are saying that, and they are quoting the Trade Licensing Act. Incidentally, most of the people whose property is being destroyed have licenses. Incidentally, some of the people's property being destroyed are paying presumptive tax. Now, what are we doing? Are we clearing road reserves? If we are clearing road reserves, let's follow the regulations. Who is the government entity in charge of road reserves? Are there guidelines for using road reserves? Yes, they are. They were passed in 2018. Now, why don't we allow these small businesses, give them an opportunity to apply to operate from these road reserves for a limited period? Because the challenge is we don't have workspaces in Uganda. So where are the entrepreneurs to work? The cost of land is high. So they have to operate from road reserves because that's the only available public space. So for me, I think that these operations, they are orderless, they lack clear objectives. Are they enforcing physical planning? If you're enforcing physical planning, then let it cut across board, not just focused on SMEs. Let's say everyone who's building then doesn't have an approval. If you're clearing road reserves, clear road reserves. You go everywhere in Uganda where people have built on road reserves and clear. You see, but don't marginalize the poor. Don't target the poor because they are soft targets. You know, and then you're using the legal basis of your actions. Dubious. See, which law are you using? You see, do you want these people to get licensed? Then have a campaign for them to get licensed. In any case, why don't you give these people ample notice? Why don't you come up with a campaign whose objectives are clear? You make sure that people are educated about it. People are given time. You know, the typical steps of change management. But you can't just come with a grader at night or in the morning and, we are doing trade order. No, you're breaking the law in a guise of enforcing order.
Mr. Olgembe, in the 90s, Uganda liberalized economy and many citizens moved from villages to the city centers, chasing opportunity, as was the case. Uganda Kampala becoming the dream at the time. But did the jobs and systems keep pace? It's something that I want to find out from you. And did we also urbanize faster than we industrialized?
No, the country is definitely urbanizing. You see, if you look at the recent census, you will find that the bulk of Ugandans, more than 70%, are young people. Young people are looking for opportunities. Many of them will not want to work on the farm. So you find that young people are coming into urban areas. Unfortunately, we have not prepared our cities to create jobs for them. We want to maintain the colonial order with an increasing population, with increasing urbanization. So these cities, having failed to come up with clear urbanization plans, with clear plans on local economic development, are now criminalizing enterprise. These young people are not going to go anywhere. You can make operations every 6 months and it won't have an impact. What we are saying is that as a country, let's have a conversation. These are Ugandans, they are SMEs. They are contributing to the tax base. You may not know. I know some people say, oh, the people in the informal sector. No way. These big companies that you see give checks to government are tax collectors. It's not the beer company that takes the beer. It's not the soft drinks company that takes the soda. It is not the telecom company that uses the data and air. It's these small businesses. You know, if you set up your farm of poultry, it is these people who are going to roast your chicken. Now in Najembe, they have taken down the whole thing. In Musita, they've taken down the whole. What's the objective? What's the objective? Because Najembe is linking farmers to the market. If it's not okay, that district
and also
local
contributing to tourism, because the stopovers for tourists on that particular market was huge.
So why don't you just modernize? The way a private investor on Masaka Road, Honorable Sivambi, has built Jalia City, is the way government can say, you know what, under local government, let's make funds available to modernize all stopover points. Let's make sure they are, we have washrooms. Let's make sure that they are clean. Let's make sure that young people are trained on hygiene. Let's make sure that young people are trained on saving. We want a clear thought process. We don't want militaristic approaches to addressing economic challenges.
So is it a policy mismatch?
You can't formalize the economy using force.
Is it a policy mismatch between migration and job creation that we're dealing with, and who now has to bear the responsibility that we're looking at today?
To create conditions that will ensure that people are employed. That's the starting point. We are not saying government should create the jobs. We are saying government should create the conditions. And that's some of the things that I've talked about. You see young people who have innovated, they have set up their own market, they are buying chicken from farmers, they are roasting, we are buying from them, we are not complaining. Your role is to regulate, is to make sure how can we make this facility better? How can we make sure that these young people comply with hygiene requirements? How can we make sure that these young people have public health certificates? That is your role. You are a facilitator. You are not a policeman. So again, we appeal to government officials across the board, all the ministries, because this is a cross-ministerial issue. Because Ministry of Local Government is talking about trade order. Trade order is under Ministry of Trade. The Trade Licensing Act falls under Ministry of Trade. Now local government is there saying, now because of trade order, do ABCD. Then the cows and town clerks, because they want to keep their jobs, they are going overboard. They are waking up in the night with graders, taking out people's property. The Federation has made it clear we are going to take legal action. not just against local governments, but against those particular individuals who are engaged in malicious destruction of property.
So this is to say the local government order does not come with resolutions, does not come with alternatives, does not come with solutions on how to reintegrate the affected persons.
And it is not grounded. In which law? What are they implementing exactly? What order? Which law is it? Are they saying we are trying to enforce licenses? Then you must go and say, give me your license. And then what's the penalty? The Act has a remedy. A person who operates without a license, what happens? That's why we have laws. Road reserves, a person who operates, because we have guidelines that if you want to use a road reserve, there's a procedure for applying. Now, if someone is operating in a road reserve without permission, who is to enforce? Ministry of Works. Then why don't you give them time to apply?
It's also an indicator of the loopholes that exist, because if it's one person who is operating in the road reserve, but when it becomes 10 people, 100 people operating in the road reserve, that means that someone somewhere has slept on their job.
Yeah, but what I'm telling you, a road reserve that's not being used now can be used as a workspace temporarily, because government at the moment does not have the means to set up workspaces for SMEs. And this is my argument. A road reserve that is contributing to nothing, a road reserve for a road that will only serve its purpose in 30 years, we can use it to economic use now. But now what we are saying, let's structure it. You tell the SMEs that for any road reserve, you can only have space of this much, you can only apply using this form, you can only put a structure of this size, of this design, you need to pay, so don't break, advise them to do better, handhold them, facilitate them. See? But now we are seeing some people are even doing it with malice. You wake up, you just break, tell someone, remove your thing, they remove it, so this is what we are opposed to. The Federation is not opposed to trade order. We are opposed to the manner in which it's being rolled out at the moment, which is going to hurt small businesses. And it's also going to hurt government. Local governments are struggling with domestic resource mobilization, and they are picking money from these small businesses as license fees, through license fees. Where will they get? Government itself gets presumptive tax. Government itself gets tax through consumption. See, so these are things I believe we need to reflect upon and do better as a country. Let us not be very tough with the poorest among us.
Okay.
Yet for the big investors, we bend the rules. See, let us be mindful of the fact that these are our sisters, these are our children, these are our brothers, and they need to survive.
Okay. On that note, how can the focus move from vendors to integration of the structures that exist right now to accommodate everyone? Because even the Bible says it, the poor will always be amongst us. So no matter how much we do or try to implement some of these orders, at the end of the day there will be someone who's less privileged, less advantaged, but still needs to put food on their table for their family.
So that's why I'm saying that under PDM government has been giving just money. And we're saying money is fine, but let us go beyond the money to address other structural barriers. Now, apart from access to finance that people are well informed about, issues around skills, issues around access to markets, the other big issue is the issue of workspaces. Do you know that in Kampala people pay rent for 2 to 3 million? Some people even pay 5 million shillings as rent. And then you find that you're paying rent at 5 million, you pay for electricity separately. The landlord comes and counts the bulbs. Bulb 1, 50k. Bulb 2, 50. Whether you are there, it's not about consumption, it is very arbitrary. Then you have to pay for the toilet separately. Then you have to pay for garbage separately. This
and all those figures, it's the landlord who determines them.
Yeah, it's the landlord and other private people. We are asking government to be more involved, because when someone is operating on Nasa Road or in Chiembe, they are creating jobs. And as government, you're also earning. They are contributing to country's GDP. So the point is, government should seriously consider the aspect of workspaces for SMEs and for small businesses across the country, besides markets. Because I hear people say, markets. You find that in Lira, there's one major market built by the African Development Bank, still under. I'm wondering, maybe local government maybe the markets are empty, I don't know why they are doing. Maybe they are trying to create market for there. The issue is, those main markets cannot accommodate everyone, because the market cannot accommodate the mechanic. The market cannot accommodate the metal fabricator. The market cannot accommodate the carpenter, the phone repairer. Not everyone can fit in a market, and this is something we must appreciate. So we must go beyond markets to building proper work spaces. Because
at the end of the day, it's intended to be an ecosystem to facilitate every need that I don't need to come to Kampala for a service when someone can extend that service to me.
In fact, the Ministry of Local Government can sign a lease kind of agreement with Ministry of Works to employ some workspaces for a time, 20 years, before roads are upgraded. You build temporary structures, people work from there, you earn revenue, everyone is happy, the SMEs are employed. So these are the kinds of solutions we are looking at, and we are going to reach out to this ministry so that we give them some wisdom.
Okay. Speaking of wisdom, how can we, still focus on formalization of the informal economy without punishing
But they are
the
not
poor?
generally informal. This is also the issue.
That's the perception that people are having, that everyone who's
I've told you, most of these people have licenses. Before you get a license, you get a business name with URSB. Most of these people are paying presumptive tax. So these are not informal businesses. They are just harassing SMEs, maybe because, I don't like. And Ugandans must appreciate, and I'm talking to people who occupy offices. You occupy that office, but many of you came from very poor backgrounds. Some of your parents worked in these places to educate you. Now you're a town clerk, you're a cow, you behave like you have become a king, and you choose to harass those people. Let them work, because they are supporting some 3 or 4 young people who will also make a difference in the country. And we are saying, follow the law. You can follow the law while being humane. You can follow the law while being humane. So this is the position. Not all of these SMEs are informal. Not all of these SMEs, they are not engaged in illegal activity. They are licensed. You can license someone, and then they say, I licensed them, I picked their money, I picked their presumptive tax, but they engage in an illegality.
Okay, having understood the position of the Federation, what are some of the recommendations or advisory papers that you have put forward to this regard?
Okay, so first of all, we are asking that government should first halt this process. This process is going to have legal ramifications. Some of people will take those officers to court, because thankfully the enforcers are from the local communities. They didn't come from Kampala. The SMEs know where they stay. They know their positions. We will take them to court. You can't come, destroy my property, hiding behind this so-called trade order directive that is unclear on what is to be done, and you think that we'll say fine. No, we will take you. That's why courts of law exist, by the way, so that if any Ugandan feels aggrieved, they can go there for redress. So we are asking that this process first be halted. Secondly, we are asking that we come up with a clear cross-ministerial strategy on trade order. That should include the Ministry of Trade, that should include the Ministry of Finance, that should include URA, that should include the Ministry of Local Government, that should include business associations, so that we agree. What do we want to achieve? Is our goal formalization? Fine. What can we do? Can we formalize by force? No. What are the alternatives? Are we saying we want the premises to look better? Then that is more around aesthetics. Can we encourage SMEs to paint, use different colors and so on? Is the objective about clearing road reserves? Okay. So if we clear road reserves, where will they work from? Do local governments have alternatives? So these are the kinds of discussions that we want to have at national level, so that by that time we cascade them to local governments. We have a clear plan. We instruct them clearly, not just a single letter. No, we have a plan that says for 2 to 3 months we shall do joint awareness. For this month and so on, we shall look for alternatives. Then we shall ask people to move. So that it's first, it's well planned, and it's clear.
How important is a multi-collaboration across the different institutions necessary for the cohesion of functionality?
Government must work in a coordinated way, and that's why you have ministries. Means a ministry should do its mandate without encroaching on the mandate of others and causing harm. So what we see is that the Ministry of Local Government may have meant well, but in the process, you see that what they are doing is going to have impact. It has a legal impact, of course. It's going to have an impact on trade. It's going to have an impact on revenue collection. So meaning you and Ministry of Finance have to get involved.
So there should have been a stakeholders engagement between local government,
it's going to have an impact on security, because these young people are going to be all over the place. They're not just going to sleep saying, oh, sorry, my kiosk was taken and my fridge, let me go and sleep. No, they will be involved in acts of insecurity. So it means the Ministry of Security has to be involved. Yes, you may want to create a trade order, but what if your decision causes security challenges, and then we have to spend more? So those are all kinds of issues that, and then they might cause people to enter destitution. So Ministry of Gender, because most of these micro businesses are owned by women and youth. See, so that's our call. We are not saying we are opposed. No, we can't be opposed to order. We can't be opposed to implementing a legal directive, but we want it to be implemented in a proper way, following rules that respect Ugandans, because these are Ugandans and they are deserving of respect.
Where does this leave the investor confidence right now?
You see, we must be predictable. See, we can't be in a situation where today a letter comes from the blue and then tomorrow. The level of speed is unprecedented. So as a country, we must ensure that people are predictable. Before I bring my money, I must know that in Uganda, if someone has an issue with me, they'll take me to court. I'll have an opportunity to explain my side of the story. Someone can't just wake up and wave a letter. Oh, X wrote a letter, therefore I've come to break your house. This does not augur well for the way people look at our ability to settle disputes, our ability to implement laws with fairness, our ability to create conditions where the private sector can thrive.
Okay, on that note, we also get to look in-house, where you do have SMEs that have grown leaps and bounds with the different engagements and steps you've taken to encourage them to come forward and participate actively in the socio-economic transformation of our country. What immediate or short-term and long-term effects are we looking at here should the engagements that you've talked about forthcoming not yield any results?
No, we've said we shall go to court. We will go to court. And some of those town clerks will also feel the heat. Because you see, yes, implementing the order is fine, but it shouldn't be done in a malicious way. So those enforcement teams, those chief administrative officers who are engaged in illegal acts, hiding behind this order that is vague, should be careful. That's what I can say. Yes, of course you can take the Attorney Government to court and the Attorney General, but the Attorney General I don't think will come and defend you as a person. Yes, so we are going, and the Federation is going to set up a hotline this week where SMEs can send complaints, can send pictures, and then we start working on the legal case across the country. Yes.
When we look at across the country, there's now 9 cities that we're looking at, and even with the population growth, you're seeing even more
because
that is
what
coming
you
up.
see is even smaller districts. You find a place like Kumi, a place like Mayuge.
So
there's no city. These are rural areas.
My question being, what are you doing? As a country, are we building productive cities or just visually cleaner ones?
No, the issue of cleanliness is secondary. First of all, we must have an economy. You see, it's like having a home, and then you don't have clothes for your children, and then you have visitors, and then you chase them. You say, when I have my visitors, you You hide in the chambers, I don't want you here. You're not solving the problem. The fundamental issue is that you must ensure that your children are well fed, they are well dressed, they are good mannered, so that when the visitors come, they greet and leave. So we can't say we are creating a class society where there are people we don't want to be seen because they are making us eat. No, they are part of an ecosystem. It means there's a problem to be solved. Let's solve it. Just removing them from the road reserves is not solving the problem. It's like that house owner who is chasing his children to go in the shamba because he's expecting visitors. We are saying, let us address the problem of inequality. Why is it that our businesses are not scaling? What are those barriers that are making it difficult for businesses to grow? And we are saying workspaces is one of them. Let's solve it. At least let's start. Lack of access to finance is a problem. Fine, you started with PDM. Now that people have got money, you have chased them. How are they going to pay? So these are issues. Financial institutions that have lent money to these people, there's going to be high default rates in this category. See? So we are saying that let's look at this thing holistically. Let's not assume that, and there's no city in the world without these people. Eh? The challenge also is that some of our officials, when they travel, they stop in central business districts. They don't travel properly in these cities, so they appreciate how modern cities operate. A modern city works for all. A modern city cannot be there to just work for the well-off who want clean air, who want to drive their cars in AC. Yes, a city should work for those, and we agree they should have security and so on, but a city should also work. In fact, a city should be most concerned about the less well-off. They are the ones that need our support. They are the ones that need our encouragement. So I don't agree with it, and I've had some people say, no, what they are doing is very good, there was too much congestion and so on. Please, you will educate your child, and 20 years from now, they'll set up that small business. And you will now feel the pain of what, because you will educate them, yes, they will get an education, yes, and they will have no options, and they will have to set up a small business.
That being said, 5 years from now, what should Uganda's urban trade system look like if these reforms are supposed, or recommendations are to succeed?
Uganda needs to have a well thought through urbanization strategy that makes sense, that looks at the economic side of the city. Not just infrastructure, not just roads. Should also look at the profile of inhabitants. We have younger inhabitants. We have younger inhabitants who want the city to work for them. See? So if we use colonial approaches to modernizing the city, where you want the informal sector hidden somewhere in slums, it is not going to work long term. So let us have a rethink, and especially Kampala, because Kampala has really harassed these people for a very long time. And we have let it be. You know, they have this KCCA court where the prosecutors, they are from KCCA, you know, there's no, they are very partial, you know. They get these vendors, they take someone's bananas, they sell them or eat them, then they take the lady KCCA court, and then she's in for 6 months. We cannot have such an unfair system. And the federation is good, because if we sort it in Kampala, we shall sort it in other cities. What we have observed is that these other cities don't seem to have a clear plan. What they are doing is just copycatting from Kampala. So we must fight this in Kampala and teach the city authorities that a city must work for all. We are not saying people should break the law as they wish, but we are saying you can enforce the law while being humane. Yes, okay. Let's be humane while enforcing the law.
Then to the SMEs community, what is that one reform that would help them in the immediate term?
Workspaces. Let's work between local government and the Ministry of Trade, the Ministry of Finance. Let's set up temporary workspaces. Let's support these people to register. Let's train them on what is necessary in issues of hygiene, in issues of business management, in issues of customer care. You know, let's just train them. Let's give them these temporary workspaces. You're there, we will give you a short-term license, maybe for 3 years. You say, work from here, after 3 years, go. Go and set up now your own premise. Go and set up your, so that we have, because you can't have a situation where you have someone who has been a vendor for 30 years. That's also not a sign of growth. Because you see someone has been in Owino, that I'm the chairman of Owino and have been there for 30 years. That doesn't make sense. Vending and those kinds of roadside businesses should be temporary solutions. But government then should allow people to come in, work from designated places within a short period of time, leave, transition so that there's growth. And that's what we talk about formalization. We shall be helping formalize the economy. We shall be expanding the tax base, because as you train them, as they register, they start to pay taxes. So suddenly you start collecting more money from them. So for us, that is our thinking.
Okay. Mr. Walugembe, as we come to the close of this conversation, what would be your call to action for the different stakeholders that must work collectively?
My call to action is that Uganda is a country of SMEs, micro, small and medium enterprises. 90% of our businesses are in this category. So every time we come up with a policy, we must keep this at the back of our mind. If we don't keep it at the back of our mind, we shall make mistakes. And I think that trade order is an example of a misplaced and ill thought through policy. We appeal to government to put on hold. We appeal to the chief administrative officers and town clerks who are using this order to break the law, to rethink what they are doing, because every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Don't think you will go and break people's things and they'll just go back and sleep. We will take legal action against you as individuals for things that you've done outside the law. So we're asking government to look at this. Let's come up with a multi-stakeholder platform where we can discuss these things, agree on a strategy, roll it out together, educate these traders, so that at the end of the day, Uganda is the winner. Uganda should win.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. John Walugembe, for the Federation of Small and Medium Enterprises, for your 2 cents on this matter. At the end of the day, trade order is not just about cleaning the streets or reorganizing our markets. It is about whether Uganda can build an economy where order, dignity and opportunity can all move in tandem and together. That is the real test that we are facing as a country today. We come to the end of this discussion, but we do have Tamale that is also having a seat down with State Minister of ICT and National Guidance, Kabyanga, that will be joining us to let us know some 2 cents into the direction that we are taking as a country right after